Welcome to Spiritual Direction and Soul Care Sunday Live. And based on the response from last week, we're going to do another Soul Care Sunday here today. We're going to do another guided meditation. Last week, we talked about finding peace and rest as we kind of open ourselves to the riches that can be found in our silence. And today, we're going to talk about healing stillness. We're going to be talking about how we can heal fear with meditation, how we can heal our fears, and just bring ourselves joy and peace. We can come out of obsessing about the past or worrying about the future and come back home to ourselves. That's really the power of what this can do. And as we always say at Spiritual Direction and Soul Care, we love insanely practical spiritual tools for the spiritual journey. And we're going to kind of lean into some of this. We'll get back to our Holy Humanity series, next week or the week after. It depends on how it feels, but I just want to kind of like really lean into what is working and what people are responding to today. So before we dive into that, tell me how you're doing. We had a bunch of people on last week. Would love to hear how you guys are doing this week. Let me know what's going on. It's still really cold here and very snowy. Not looking forward to more snow this week, but trying to like lean into that as well and practice acceptance, right? Practice radical acceptance. So just let me know how you're doing. Throw it in the chat whenever. And also would really encourage you while we do this to make sure that you are comfortable, that you have a seat or a place where you are. If you are laying down on a mat, that's fine. I also really encourage people to take notes. So like in between breaks of some of the things that we're going to be doing, write down your thoughts, or when it's all over, reflect on it, write down kind of the things that came up for you. If you need certain items or, music on that is not too loud, but like comforting or focusing for you, do whatever you need. I have items that like matter to me. I'm burning a little incense, and I'm just kind of like in a space where I have brightness and light and beautiful things around me, and it's calm and it's quiet. Okay. So, like I said, let's kind of dive in as we explore what healing stillness that is healing, that helps us come home to ourselves. How do we do that? So let's start, like I said, by making sure that we're in a comfortable posture that is comfortable and restful. Okay. And I'd invite you to close your eyes. Okay. Sometimes I say, look to the middle distance, but in this one, let's close our eyes because we're going to be really focusing on our bodies. And I want to kind of close down the sense of sight so that we can really heighten our perception of ourself. Okay. So I'm going to ask you now, I'm going to invite you now as we sit here to just take a deep breath and out. Let your shoulders drop, settle into this comfortable posture. With your eyes closed, let your breath rise and fall. And now I'm going to ask you to allow yourself to become aware of certain sensations in your body that you're feeling at this present moment, but that you might not usually be very conscious of. I invite you to be aware of the touch of your clothes on your shoulders. Now become aware of the touch of the clothes on your back. Or become aware of how your back is in contact with your seat or chair. Now be aware of the feel of your hands as they either touch each other or rest on your lap. Maybe they're open before you. Just focus in on the feel of your hands. Now I invite you to become conscious of the pressure of your thighs against the seat where you are laying or sitting. Now feel the feeling of your feet. Maybe they're touching the floor or the feel of your shoes. And continue to breathe through all of this. And now become explicitly aware of your posture. And now do that scan again. Once again, your shoulders, your back, your right hand, your left hand, your thighs, your feet, your posture. And again, shoulders, back, right hand, left hand, right thigh, left thigh, right foot, left foot, your whole posture. I invite you to continue to go around doing that with your eyes closed. Again, do it by yourself, moving from one part of your body to the next. Don't dwell for more than a couple seconds on each part, shoulders, back, thighs, etc. Just keep moving from one to the other, okay? Just do that. Give yourself that scan again. And you may dwell on the parts of your body I've indicated, or you can add other parts you wish, like your head or your neck or your arms or your chest or your stomach. The important thing is that you get the sensation of that part, that you feel it for a second or two, and then move on to the next part, okay? We're going to just do that for the next few minutes. Just coming home to yourself, coming home and being present to yourself right now, okay? We're going to do that for probably about 5 minutes, okay? So continue with the scan. As you scan from shoulders to back, feel free to expand to other areas of your body, but stay focused on your body. Be aware of new physical sensations that rise. Simply being present with yourself. We have 1 minute left. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I invite you to open your eyes. How was that? This simple exercise, sometimes in meditation, it's called a body scan exercise, but we'll do some things that are different, but it's in that general family of the body scan meditation. That simple exercise can oftentimes give many people an immediate sense of relaxation, an immediate sense of release of the thoughts, release from the anxiety, right? Just coming home to yourself. Right? I've even heard of people falling asleep as they do it. So maybe if you're having trouble sleeping, this is a good way to get out of your thoughts, out of your anxiousness, out of the rumination, and to simply drop into sleep if that's what you need. So you could try this again tonight. I'd love to hear how that goes. So one of the biggest enemies to peace, one of the biggest enemies to our sense of managing ourselves, right? And one of the biggest enemies to coming to a place of prayer, coming to a place of reflection, coming to a place of settled quietness, right? Coming to a place of silence, is nervous tension, right? Our fears, that parts of our mind that are saying, what if, right? And tomorrow. And so this kind of an exercise can help you deal with that and even lay it aside. And the formula is really a simple one. You relax when you actually come to your senses, right? When you become as fully conscious as possible of your body sensations, of the sounds around you, even of your breathing, of the taste of something in your mouth. Far too many people live too much in our heads, right? Jill calls it people being stuck in their story. They're mostly conscious of the thinking and the fantasizing that's going on in their heads, and far too little conscious of the activity in their senses. Right? And so, as a result, when we do that, we are not really living in the present. Being present, we hear a lot of that, right? We hear a lot of that over the last few years, especially everyone lamenting their phones and technology. Nobody's being present, right? But human beings always struggle to be present, period, regardless of the technological tools of distraction they have around them. People are almost always more living in their past or in their future. If they're living in their past, they're regretting past mistakes or feeling guilty or gloating over past achievements or resenting past injuries caused by other people, or in the future they are dreading possible calamities or things that they are afraid are going to happen, or they're anticipating even future joys or dreaming of future events. And I'm not saying it's not good to have goals or to have things to look forward to. I'm just saying that that militates against being present, and it can inflict suffering on ourselves. It's not really what happened or what you're afraid of happening is now inflicting suffering on you. Those things aren't actually doing it. It's you inflicting it on yourself because you're not being present. Right? So recalling the past in order to profit from or even to enjoy it afresh, to have good memories, right? And anticipating the future in order to plan realistically. These are valuable functions, provided that they don't take us out of the present for too long. And so to succeed in spiritual growth, to succeed in having a rich practice of prayer and awareness, right? It's essential to develop the ability to make contact with the present, to make full contact with ourselves as ourselves, and to stay there, and to stay there. And there's really no better method for staying in the present than getting out of your head and returning to your senses, getting reacquainted with yourself in this moment. Right? Feel the heat or the cold of the atmosphere around you. Feel the breeze if air is moving around you on your skin. Feel the texture and the temperature of the objects you may be touching and see what difference it makes. See how you come alive by coming into the present. Right? Once you have mastered that technique then of sense awareness, of just moving immediately into this scan and this sense awareness, right? You're going to be surprised to see what it does, right? And what it does to you, especially if you're the type that frequently worries about the future or ruminates and gets stuck in the past, right? So we're going to do this again in a few minutes. But here's another word about getting out of your head. Okay. The head, it's not a good place for this life of the spirit. It's not a good place for prayer. It's not a bad place for starting, right? But it's not a good place for the actual practice of it. If your prayers stay there too long, right, then they just become these laundry lists of worrying, and it becomes about practicing kind of venting, right? And it doesn't move into your actual heart, into the place that matters, the core of who you are, and it's going to dry up. That will dry up your prayer life. It will dry up your meditation practice, because it will prove tiresome and frustrating, because you already know all the things that you're carrying and worried about and bothered, all the things that you're afraid of. It will just be a rehearsing of fear, a rehearsing of pain, a rehearsing of frustration, right? That's all it will be, whether it's oriented to the past or the future. It's just a rehearsing of the same things over and over again, and that doesn't heal. Okay. You have to learn to move out of the area of thinking and talking and move into the area of feeling and sensing and loving. That's the area of contemplation, where contemplation is born. That's the area where spiritual growth is born. That's where we become alive. That's where we learn to become alive to ourselves and to others. It's where we access really the transforming power and source of never-ending delight and peace that is resting and waiting within us. So we come home to ourselves with this practice, right? Now, it's possible that some people can practice this, can do this practice, and instead of coming to a place of relaxation, they may come to a place of tension as a result of the exercise. Right? And if that happens to you, then you switch to the awareness of the tension, right? You switch to the tension itself. Like we talked about last week in the Riches of Silence, you let the silence and the meditation, this moment, bring forth information for you, right? New insight for you. And you know what part of your body is tense. You focus then on the tension, and you focus on the part of your body that's tense, and then you note exactly what that tension feels like, and you become aware of the fact that you are tensing yourself, and you note exactly how you are doing that. See? You note it, right? And when I use the word note, I'm not referring to reflection. I'm referring to sensing it, feeling it, right? It's like the quick phrase, you got to feel it to heal it, right? So when you're noting something, you just lean into feeling it. You lean into sensing it, okay? Does that make sense? And, you can't say enough. You can't say enough that this meditation, this exercise is about feeling, not about thinking. It's about intentionally focusing in on and feeling what you feel, literally at the level of like clothes on your back or where you're feeling tense, right? Does that make sense? Judy says, the area where God lives and one can become one with God. Yes, 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 absolutely, absolutely. There are people who, when asked to feel their arms or legs or hands, do not really feel them, right? They produce a mental picture in their mind of the limbs of theirs, and they know where the limbs are, and they become aware of that knowledge, but they don't feel the limbs themselves, right? Where other people feel a leg or a hand, sometimes some people just are blank, right? All they have is a mental picture. So the best way to overcome that, right? And to make sure that you're not just taking a mental picture of the place where we feel, is to pick up as many sensations as you can in each of these limbs. That's why we scan, right? We go from shoulders to back to maybe stomach to thighs to hands to feet. And that will help you also then become compassionate for those who are disconnected from themselves, right? And become more aware of the ways that you tend to disconnect from yourself, right? So often we have taught ourselves with busyness and especially religion that like lives in the head. It's all about truth and facts and being right and what everyone else what I think other people might think, right? That's all being in your head. That's all bondage. That's all being put in a prison in your own ways, right? And what they do is it leaves our powers of concentration, our perception, our awareness, and our attention underdeveloped. And in some situations, people wanted you to be that way, right? So, some other time, we'll talk about what the relation of this exercise has to prayer specifically, right? And how, for many people, this exercise becomes a form of contemplative prayer, right? Where we are present to ourselves and thereby made present to the presence of the God who is always present, right? But for today, let's just see this as a preparation for prayer and contemplation, as a means for attaining relaxation and stillness, as a way of letting go of anxiety, as a way of letting go of and dispelling fear, right? Because all those things make prayer almost impossible. So let's try it again. Okay. Close your eyes one more time. Um, and let's get in touch with the various sensations of our bodies. And the ideal would be to not even have to think about the various parts. Like, I'm going to think about my shoulders, I'm going to think about my hands or legs, but just simply move from sensation to sensation to sensation. Okay. And don't give any labels to the limbs or organs as you sense them. Just flow. Flow as you scan. And if you notice an urge to move or to shift your position, don't give in. Just become aware of the urge and the bodily discomfort, if you have any, gives rise to the urge. And just stay with this exercise for a few minutes, okay? Just stay with this exercise for a few minutes, and you will gradually feel a certain stillness kind of come to your body. And do not explicitly rest in that stillness. Just go on with your awareness exercise. Just continue to flow, sensing and feeling your body, and leave that stillness to take care of itself. And if you become distracted, get back to the awareness of body sensations, moving one to another. You can always come back home to the stillness until your body becomes still again and your mind quiets again, and you are able to sense once again the stillness that this brings, peace, and a foretaste of contemplation, a foretaste of a deeper awareness of God's presence. But stay with the flow of sensations. Just stay with that flow for now. We'll do that for a few more moments. Okay. So keep your eyes closed and flow with sensing and feeling. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How is the flow, the sensing and the feeling? What are you noticing? Did you feel the urge to move? Did you feel uncomfortable? Did you feel stuck? Did you feel antsy about too much silence? I don't know. What was it like for you? Did you come to a place of stillness? Remember, I said not to rest there, though, in this exercise, but to continue flowing and scanning with sensing and feeling, right? Now, why in this particular exercise do we not want to rest in the stillness that this exercise creates, this place of peace, this place of freedom that has no fear or anxiety in it? Why would we not want on this exercise? You might in a different exercise, but why not in this one? Well, resting in it can be relaxing, because resting in it, can be relaxing and nice, right? But also then you may slide into kind of like a mild trance or kind of a mental blank, right? And the focus of this exercise is to feel and come home to yourself and be conscious of being home with yourself, right? In comparison to being filled with thoughts that create fear and anxiety, right? So you want to be conscious that you are at home, that you are at home with yourself, that you are home in your body, that you are sensing and feeling yourself as a self, right? So you want to increase your awareness. That's the purpose of this exercise, is to increase your awareness of self, right? Judy says, my problem is I suffer with psoriatic arthritis. I'm really sorry to hear that. So focusing on my body makes me extra aware of too many sensations I usually try to avoid thinking about, right? Right. See, there is a unique challenge, right? And so what do you do in this exercise, Judy? Like when that happens, do you then, because you have a condition, do you move to another body part? Or what do you do? How do you navigate that? And because you've got something going on with your body that elevates your awareness of your body. Does that make sense? Of yourself as a self, right? It's not a fun elevation, right? Clearly it's difficult and challenging, and I'm sorry that you experienced it, but I would love to hear also, like, what do you do then in this kind of an exercise? What do you do to navigate that? That'd be fascinating to hear, and we could learn, because we might not have arthritis, but we may have other physical sensations that are tapped up during this kind of an exercise. So I'd love to hear your wisdom on that. So part of what we're doing too with this exercise is we're not deliberately trying to produce stillness. We're not trying to produce silence. Like, I never want it to be about a performance of self, right? What you're seeking is a sharpening of your awareness rather than a deadening of the awareness that comes from a blank space, right? So in spite of the stillness, and then within the stillness, you keep an exercising of awareness of self, and you're leaving the stillness to kind of take care of itself. And there'll be moments when the stillness or that blank, right, will be so powerful that it will make all exercise and all effort on your part, right, impossible. And in such moments, it's no longer you who go in quest of stillness, right? It's stillness that's actually taking possession of you and overwhelms you, right? And at times this might be preferable and beneficial, right? So if then this becomes a different kind of exercise, and that is okay, to move into the blank, right? Where you let the stillness possess you, right? Overwhelm you in a good way, right? That might be needed, right? That might be needed. But if you are doing this exercise to increase bodily awareness, awareness of self as self, to come home and to leave off fear, to leave off anxiety, to get out of your head and to reconnect with your body, then you'll want to do what we've been describing, right? And that way you can safely, no matter what happens, you can safely let go of all effort, because I don't want it to be effortful, right? And just surrender to the overpowering stillness within you, right? Because maybe that's what you need, right? Maybe you need to move past moving out of your head and into your body. Maybe you need to use that as a pathway to overwhelming stillness. Maybe that's what you need, right? And that's okay too. But primarily, when we're ruminating, then we want to counterbalance that by being super focused on sensing and feeling in our bodies. That's the first step. That's the first practice, right, to do. So that's it. Healing stillness, right? A stillness where we are free to sense and feel ourselves, where we leave behind the narrative, the story, the running thoughts, the fears, right? And we move into a place of peace. Judy says, in my own everyday life, aches, pains, and itchiness say to me, focus here, focus there on my body. So my regular meditative practice is not this. I more quickly move to focus on being simple awareness. Yes, I tell myself I'm not these feelings or my body. I'm the awareness part of God that these feelings are in. That's really good. That's a really good redirect given your situation, right? And like I'm saying, like some people need to just get out of their story, right, and get into their body. It sounds like your body is creating a reverse. Your journey is a reverse, right? You're trying to like move away from over consciousness of the difficulties in your body back into stillness, right? Yeah. And that is an amazing practice that you've just described. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I think that's part of the beauty of meditation and awareness and guided prayer and contemplation. The way it heals us, right? It illuminates for us the unique pathways that each of us are walking, right? There's lots of different applications for spiritual practices, right? And we use the tools that work and that best address our needs, right? And it's a huge toolbox. There's lots of different approaches into cultivating awareness, right? So I love it. Thank you for sharing today. So that was healing fear, getting out of our heads and into our bodies, moving towards stillness, and all through the process, being aware of ourselves enough to know if what we do need to do is give ourselves over to stillness, into pure awareness, right? Whatever it is and whatever works best for you. Hope this has been a great time together. I've loved spending time with you today on spiritual direction and soul care as we've done this guided contemplation together. I hope you have an amazing week and stay healthy and at peace. And we'll see you next week.